But let's talk a little bit about what you were talking about, and that is the protests and things going on throughout the country. So a man associated with the Aryan Cowboys, which is an anti-defamation league, listed as a white supremacist prison and street gang. Well, this is really important because there's video of this umbrella man. It went viral after protesters in Minneapolis confronted and filmed him on May 27th while he was in the act of smashing several windows of an AutoZone store. Now, if you recall, that AutoZone store was eventually lit on fire. An arson investigator wrote in a search warrant affidavit that the man also painted the words "free S-word for everyone zone" on the doors of the AutoZone. Not long after he smashed in the windows, looting began, and a bit later the AutoZone was set on fire, as I mentioned. Sergeant Erica Christensen with the Minneapolis Police Department said this was the first fire that set off a string of fires and looting throughout the precinct and the rest of the city. So why is this important? Well, you've heard the narrative that, all these Black Lives Matter protesters did all this. Well, not the case in this situation because we have a white supremacist who allegedly started the whole thing, and I shouldn't even say allegedly anymore because there's video of it. This man has been taken into custody, and there's video of him actually starting this arson, which took place in Minneapolis. While I have no doubt, yes, there are members of the movement, so to speak, that have lit things on fire, that have started arson.
Well, no, and it's more so Antifa.
No, it's not. Actually,
no, the movement, I mean, in my opinion, from what I've seen, is that Antifa has caused a lot more damage than the Black Lives Matter movement has.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about that
Sure,
next.
let's
so
talk
there are left-wing attacks have left far fewer people dead than violence by right-wing extremists. That's a new research which indicates that Antifa activists has not been linked to a single murder in decades. That's right. A single murder in decades. A new database of nearly 900 politically motivated attacks and plots in the United States since 1994 includes just one attack staged by an anti-fascist that led to fatalities. In that case, the single person killed was the perpetrator. Over the same period, American white supremacists and other right-wing extremists have carried out attacks that left at least 329 victims dead, according to this database. So would you like to respond to that from what you just said?
No, I'm talking about Antifa since the George Floyd protests have started.
Nobody from Antifa has been killed. That's a fact.
Has been killed?
Yep.
Or has killed anybody?
Nobody from Antifa has killed anybody. And in this, as far as this goes back 25 years, by the way, and I'll say this again because I think this stat is very, very important for people to hear. American white supremacists and other right-wing extremists have carried out attacks that left at least 329 victims dead. And according to this database of nearly 900 politically motivated attacks and plots in the United States since 94, just one person, and by the way, one person is too much, but one person was attacked staged by an anti-fascist led to a fatality. I think it's important to note that.
Okay, well, I've seen a lot of different videos, like, for example, the Back the Blue rally in Denver that was interrupted and caused to shut down in a violent protest, like the one that happened a couple of weeks ago when Michelle Malkin was there and she was forced to stop talking. I mean, I've seen several situations, dozens of situations nationwide, what's going on in Portland, what happened in Seattle, that would lead me to believe. So you're saying that not one person has died because of what's been going on. Okay. I mean, I find that incredibly hard to believe, but fine.
I mean, I have.
Because, again, you can read what you want to read, but I have seen it take place. I have seen videos.
So you've seen a left-winger kill somebody
all over the country.
What does that mean?
Of what's been going on?
We're talking about
the looting, the rioting.
We're not talking about looting and rioting right now. We're talking about organizations that have killed people. People that have died, the worst thing you can do. I'm not condoning any type of, lighting a place on fire or rioting. What I'm simply telling you is that this database, it's in The Guardian if you don't believe me, this database shows that over 300 people have died at the hands of white supremacist and right-wing extremist groups, and there is no evidence to support that any left-wing organization or group, including Antifa, has killed one single human being since 1994. I think that's important to note.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
I mean, okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, does this disturb you at all, what took place in Minneapolis with this white supremacist who was the first person who started this rioting, and now there's proof of it? He's been arrested, and there's video of it.
So now the goal is to blame all of this that has taken place nationwide on some type of white supremacist group.
I'll tell you why.
That's going to be the next step.
I will tell you
that'll
why.
Be the next step.
So Donald Trump.
Everyone is going to say no. Antifa's not real.
Nobody's saying Antifa's not real.
Antifa is. They're causing no damage.
Nobody said that.
They're doing nothing wrong.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that.
What's going on in Poland is totally unreasonable.
Nobody said that.
The federal agents that are there, as is afforded to the president under the Constitution, should not be there.
Nobody said that.
Because all this was started by a white supremacist, and white supremacists must be doing this, not Antifa. That's going to be the next move.
JD,
yes, it is.
Everything you just said is not true.
Of course, it is.
Not. Okay, if I can respond,
that will be the next move.
Okay, so that's your opinion. That'll be the next move.
The next move is white supremacists are the ones that are causing all this damage nationwide. It's not Antifa, and it's not a result of the Black Lives Matter protests.
Okay, so if I could respond, nobody has said that Antifa doesn't exist. All I'm simply stating, and everything else that you said, nobody's saying that. Trump has railed. There's a reason why we're talking about this.
Exactly.
Trump has railed against far-left fascism. And, he has made warnings about the threat of Antifa and far-left fascism. It's been a central part of his re-election campaign. And all I am simply saying is, in reality, these left-wing attacks have left far fewer people dead than violence by right-wing extremists. I just gave you the stats. 329 victims dead from right-wing extremists and white supremacy.
So you're telling me that there was a video where a police officer, and it was played by Jim Jordan during the House Judiciary Committee hearing.
Who's also very credible.
Anyways, it was played by Jim Jordan during the House Judiciary Committee hearing, and the police officer was ran over by a car, and I believe that he died. And that was during the protests and the riot. And you're telling me, what about David Dorn? What's that?
So
that's just a couple of people that just shot David Dorn.
So let me explain to you.
At night during looting. Well, how do you relate that to it?
So
now, you want to say that Antifa isn't directly responsible as far as a terrorist organization or whatever with the deaths, but there have been deaths that have been a result of these looting and the riots and the protests that Antifa has been directly involved in, and left wing extremist groups have been directly involved in, left wing fascist groups, and in my opinion. Like the woman that was she was a Harvard student and she got fired from Deloitte and Touche, accounting firm, because she said that any Trump person or anyone that says or that doesn't agree with Black Lives Matter, she said that she would stab them in the face. And it went viral on TikTok, and she was fired from her job. That's an example of bigotry and fascism.
Okay, so let me respond to that.
When you don't let someone give their opinion...
I'm trying to do that right now.
No, when you don't let someone give their opinion because you don't agree with it, and then you act on it with violence, that's an example of one, bigotry, and two, fascism.
So I
find it very hard to believe that Antifa has not been directly involved in deaths as they've related to the rioting and protesting and looting that's gone on around the country the last 2 months. So that this article, to me, should factor that in. I don't understand why it does not.
Well, I would suggest you actually read the article. I haven't read it. That's fine. Right. So I would suggest you read the article before you have that opinion. That's number one. Number two, we're not talking about people that have made statements. Number three, because since you mentioned about 6 or 7 things in there, I'm trying to write them down and remember all of them.
That's fine.
You mentioned David Dorn. David Dorn was murdered by a looter who had no political affiliation. That's number 3. Number 4, you mentioned a cop that was run over. That cop that was run over, there is no evidence to support the fact that the person who ran over that police officer was a member of a left-wing organization. And again, the reason why we're bringing this up is because Donald Trump will lead you to believe that Antifa is just killing a bunch of innocent people. That is absolutely and positively not true.
I don't think he's actually said that. I think he's talked about property damage and destruction.
Okay. Well, I'm talking to you about the worst thing you can do to somebody, and that is kill an innocent person. And I'm telling you, right-wing groups have been responsible for, including white supremacists, for killing over 300 people since 1994. And there's no evidence to support that the fact that any left-wing organization has killed an innocent human being. If you don't believe me, you could read this article in this database, which was in The Guardian, and it gives you all that information. I also find it very troubling that the first person who started the looting and started the rioting and started everything has been arrested. He is associated with the Aryan Cowboys, an anti-defamation.
What's his name?
An anti-defamation league.
Because his name has not been released.
Which is listed as a white supremacist prison and street gang. There is also video of it. He is known as the Umbrella Man. Police have not released his name yet. He is known as the Umbrella Man, who helped incite George Floyd riots. So it's not just Antifa or people on the left that are inciting violence. It is also people on the right, and I just gave you the evidence to support the claim that left-wing organizations are not killing innocent people, and right-wing extremists are certainly doing that. I want to open up the phone lines at 702-257-5.
Well, who's doing it, Brian? It's anarchists.
Okay,
it's anarchists.
Mm-hmm. White supremacists.
No, it's anarchists.
I just gave you one.
On both sides, on left and obviously right, that want the government to fail.
Okay, so let me get out.
That want the country to burn, if you will.